What's going on, everybody? Jeff Holiday here, and today we're going to cover something that is... it really pisses me off, and it's probably going to piss you off too. It's just so absurd and obscene, but, rather than just try and hem and haw around a little bit, let's just jump straight into it. You'll see why I'm a bit angry. So this is Bigtree over in Rockford, New York, where recently there's been a state of emergency because of measles. Now, as of the time that this article was put out, which is March 26, last month, 153 cases of measles had been recorded, and this led the New York County to basically declare a 30-day emergency where they basically barred people who are unvaccinated from going to public spaces, including children and going to school, etc., etc. One of the complications in this is that Rockford is home to a rather large Orthodox Jewish community, and kind of part and parcel with that, depending on how strictly they adhere to their faith, these people don't believe in vaccinations. But that's not all that's happening in the big wide world of measles. And this is also at the time where we have things like this Israeli flight attendant who is in a coma after developing encephalitis from contracting measles. So this isn't even just like immunocompromised kids are at risk of getting seriously ill. It's adults too, because this outbreak keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And why? Antivaxxers. Hell, even the tech giant Google is having a run-in with measles after it was reported yesterday that an employee may have infected damn near everybody in one of their main office buildings with measles. That's fun.
We've also proved beyond a shadow of a doubt with the Informed Consent Action Network, my nonprofit, that not a single childhood vaccine has ever been through a double-blind, inert placebo study. Not one!
I still really hate how they always bring up this argument. Why in the world would you want to subject people to that type of methodology for testing? Are you serious? This is a very common tactic that anti-vaxxers will try and spring on you. They're like, why is there not double-blind safety studies about vaccines? Well, first of all, there are on more newer, recent vaccines and in very specific circumstances. But the reason why we don't do them now, especially for ones that are established, things like for measles, mumps, rubella, pertussis, etc., is because the very idea of it is incredibly unethical. It means that you would have two groups, and neither group knows which one has the actual vaccine or not. And then you go and you vaccinate young children, and then you just wait a while and see who possibly contracts a virus or not. That means that whoever it is that you are vaccinating, but they don't actually get vaccinated, you are directly putting them in harm's way. That is their big gotcha. Gotcha, science. Why haven't you put children in harm's way? We do it all the time.
So it is illegal to say that that product is safe. There's no drug that could say it was safe that did not go through that process. These vaccines are not going through the scientific method. There is no science happening here. And that's what we proved. And so what are they doing? They're refusing to have a debate. They're refusing to sit down with us.
Why would anybody debate Bigtree? fucking Bigtree on the matters of biology, medicine, and immunology? Why Dell? Like, seriously, Dell, you're not a doctor. You have no experience whatsoever in any of the things you're trying to talk about. You're a radio show host. You're a propagandist. Why in the fuck do you feel like you are owed a debate? You? And the debate does rage on. It's just you're not invited.
In answer to why they refuse to use the scientific method when they say that vaccines are safe, they refuse to answer to anything. Instead, they're using our government officials to use martial law and force us into compliance. No! You know what that means? It doesn't mean we're winning, folks. It means we have won.
Okay, first of all, nobody's forcing anybody to get vaccinated, and instead, it's just you have more consequences if you don't want to get vaccinated. That's not forcing anything. It just means inconvenience because you're not getting your way. As far as one what? More sick people? Good for you. Jesus Christ.
I have to read every day that the information in Vaxxed is misinformation, that the information I share on the HighWire is misinformation.
Yeah, it is.
What that means is it's really inconvenient information for the status quo.
No, it means it's all a bunch of lies. Easily provable and easily demonstrated lies. Like, that's what I do. That's literally what I do. You're a liar.
I want to lay out a couple of the actual factual stats that they don't want you to hear on social media, Instagram, YouTube, Amazon. Here it is. In the United States of America, more babies die on the first day of life than every other industrialized nation combined.
Yeah, but you see, there's a problem with that. Remember how I was saying that you're a liar? Well, we have to look at where your source comes from. See, that's from 2013. And over the past 10 years, the infant mortality rate in the United States has been getting better, improving by well over 15%. Why do you think maybe that is? Why? Because in Dell's mind, this can be easily and without any complication just attributed straight to vaccines. Well, they're dying because of vaccines. Or because what else is getting better in the United States is we're having fewer and fewer teenage pregnancies. Teenage pregnancies also come with the associated risk of low birth weight and increased possible infant mortality. So as there are fewer and fewer teenagers giving birth, we're also seeing our infant mortality rate getting better. Interesting. And as far as the argument that this is going to be tied to vaccines, well, if that was the case, why is it then that Canada, Australia, damn near every westernized European country, as well as China and Russia, all have higher vaccination rates than the United States does? Yet somehow that's the reason why? Like, the argument doesn't make any sense.
I also want to point out that when they say to you that vaccine injury is 1 in a million, it's so rare, it's 1 in a million. Yes, I'm talking to you, Dr. Peter Hotez, the lying shill of the pharmaceutical industry.
Oh boy, here we go. I really like Peter Hotez. He's great. Should see him on the Joe Rogan show. He did a really good job.
In fact, he went on to say it could be as low as 1 in 10 million injuries. So let's just talk about the facts. These are facts that I give every single day, everywhere I go. We only have one capture system in America for vaccine injury. It's called the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System.
That's right, VAERS. I've spoken about it at length many times. Just because somebody reports something in VAERS does not mean that it was actually confirmed. There are people who report in VAERS that their stroke that they had 50 years into their life was because of a childhood vaccine. That is what you will find in VAERS. And this is going to be as proof.
In 2018 alone, over 58,000 reports of vaccine injury were put forward in America alone. 58,000. That means if vaccine injury is 1 in a million, there's 58,000 million people living in America.
Now, let me ask you something. What is more likely? Is it more likely that people will utilize a open reporting system to basically claim vaccines did anything that's going to cost them money or inconvenience, and they're just found to not be valid and then brushed aside? Or there's a massive government move to try and suppress the truth of how all of this works. That all of the tens upon tens of thousands of scientists and researchers working all the time, around the clock, are all paid off by this massive global Illuminati conspiracy to suppress the truth. What's more likely? Understanding the real human condition, understanding how people actually work. Is it more likely that people will either be ignorant because they're misled by shitheads like Bigtree, or opportunistic, whether because they're grieving or because they're greedy, or a giant conspiracy?
But even scarier, of those 58,000, over 400 of those reports were of deaths by vaccine.
Deaths by vaccines, really? Deaths by vaccines. God damn, I hate this guy. What the fuck?
Innocent people killed in America by vaccines. Children that were going to go on and potentially be presidents of the United States will not have that opportunity because of vaccines. Children that may have grown up to be scientists, to figure out a better way to create immunity without killing 400 people a year, will not do it because of vaccines.
I don't know why, but Bigtree really, really irritates the shit out of me. This dude is one of the most obnoxious anti-vaxxers I've ever seen. He is one of the worst. Drives me crazy.
And worse even still, internal reports both by our Congress and by most recently Harvard Medical School, CDC and HHS said, please investigate the VAERS system and tell us how accurate it is. And Harvard reported that VAERS system is capturing less than 1% of the total amount of injuries in America. Let that sink in. Less than 1% from Harvard Medical School. They analyzed it. That's right. The Congress said it's less than 10%. Either way, let's look at 1%. That means that 58,000 injuries turns into 5.8 million injuries in 2018 alone.
Yeah, let's not look at the 10%. Let's look at 1% so we can add an extra zero onto it. We're not being shady in this at all. No way. And now, what is it? How many deaths is it now, Del?
100 deaths turns to 40,000 deaths by vaccines in America alone in 1 year.
Wow.
10,000 emergency room visits turns into 1 million emergency room visits.
But hey, yet again, it's one big fuck-off lie. Every single bit of it. Every single one. The whole concept that only 1% of serious vaccine reactions are reported to VAERS, not true. And it's never been true at all. That comes from an old study that was talking about drug reactions. That's it. None of this was just broad stroke, only 1% of everything that's being reported to VAERS. No, none of that is real. It's all make-believe bullshit. These people are fucking lying to you. I just want to put this out real quick. His magic math gives him this number that 5.8 million adverse reactions are happening every year. Well, the U.S. birth rate is only about 3.8 million. You think we would notice? Just saying.
Political officials, SWAT teams kicking in doors over fevers.
Literally never happened.
It's absolutely outrageous. I want to read a poem, and I've read it before, but I think it's so critical in this time.
You're gonna read a poem?
In the middle of Nazi Germany, a priest wrote this. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. In Rockland County, New York, the Hasidic Jewish community is having a measles outbreak. They want it. They believe that they were born in the image and likeness of God.
Watch this
shit. They believe that any serpent that would come forward to them and tell them that their bodies were not perfect, that they had to be covered, or that they need 72 vaccines to live and eat, and they said, no, that is not my God. My God is not the pharmaceutical industry. My God is not the snake wrapped around that branch on every hospital in America. My God made me perfect. I am not born into an original sin that needs 72 vaccines to survive. My God made me perfect. And for those Hasidic Jews living in Rockland County that for the first time in a very long time have been curfewed, that are being locked into their houses, that cannot go into schools and cannot go into restaurants, I say to you, how are we going to know if you're not vaccinated? How are we going to arrest you? Maybe we'll do it the same way we did the last time.
Damn. Damn. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, man. See, the truth of the matter is that, well, maybe the government is then going to come around and start marking people with the scarlet letter or with the golden star. That way, you can be targeted easily for extermination. What the fuck?
So for you, for all the Hasidic Jews in New York right now that never thought this moment will come, I am saying, I stand with you.
Ooh, don't raise that arm up like that, buddy. Don't raise your arm up like that. That's a little spooky.
I stand with a nation that said we will never oppress the minorities. We will stand for your religious conviction.
Oh, I see. So antivaxxers are a minority now, right?
We will let you believe in your God. We will let you raise your children the way you see fit. I stand in a nation that does not bring hand sanitizer and hand it out referring to innocent children as though they are dirty.
Children are dirty. I've got a kid. He's a first grader. He's filthy. What are you talking about?
We have seen that before, and we will never let that happen in this beautiful country. You know who washed their hands with hand sanitizer? Pontius Pilate. That's who did as they sent the lamb to slaughter.
Are you now magically a Jew, or are you now magically Jesus? What the fuck?
We will not let our government state capitals send our children to slaughter. Certainly not in Texas. Certainly not where liberty reigns supreme. Certainly not where parents call the shots. We stand now together in this great state for freedom, for liberty, in the greatest country in the world. We will not let them fall. Thank you.
Stand with Rockland Jews. I don't even really know what to say about it. I mean, this is by far not the first time that anti-vaxxers have tried to use the Holocaust and Jews as a talking point. I mean, they're much like PETA in how they do that, and it's pretty obnoxious and honestly disgusting. But, you know, it doesn't matter if you're being disrespectful as long as it's the right kind of propaganda. Right, Del Bigtree? Right? You know? But seriously, though, I am getting pretty spooked out by how Dell's acting there. He's starting to get a little full of himself, a little spooky, a little crazy, a little nutty there, buddy. But yeah, so there you go. That's a brief update on the current happenings of measles and the clowns surrounding this controversy and them taking advantage of the situation in Rockland, New York. It took me a little while to actually get this video out compared to like when this went down, but it's because every time I tried to record it, I started dry heaving out of just pure anger and frustration. Anyway, that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for your attention. Appreciate you. I'm going to go brain bleach the existence of Del Bigtree straight out of my head and go do something that makes me happy. I think you should do the same, and from my family to yours, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.